Restart recording. So, as I said, we are trying to restart ab initio, which is a good thing. And I think focus on the process, focus on trying to perfect ourselves in the process. And I'm sure the outcome shall be what outcome is not something we should focus on, but I'm sure Baba will take care of that if we put the best efforts. In that spirit, I've been rethinking and looking at how to do this so that it can be useful not just for all of us, but for anybody in the future as well. So I'm proposing the use of, instead of Excel, I'm going to be tracking. This is not for everybody, but everybody is free to use it. In fact, it's going to be a public board. It's a very simple thing. If you look at it, it's nothing but it's like a whiteboard that's virtual, right? So it's just a big whiteboard that everybody can see, everybody can update, and everybody can use. And it gives you a realistic status of what we're doing. So what I've done here is, if you go, look here, we are talking about what we are trying to do. This is the first card. So the way, so the app is an app called Trello, and I will send you invitations after this meeting. And feel free to try it out. Don't think that this is yet another shiny object that in the objective universe that's attracting me. It's going to help us. Okay.
Okay,
It's
okay.
actually going to help us. So bear with me, and as I keep saying often, indulge
Mm.
me. Okay, it's all available on the mobile. It's very, very user friendly, but
Yeah,
it'll actually help us. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So first, the way it's structured is you have these lanes. Yeah, the lanes are nothing but this getting started, info, spirit and matter, and the seven options, right? The seven themes. The cards are within the lanes. The lanes are nothing but the columns, and then you have cards, and the cards actually can be moved around, like I just tried, right? So you can move cards around. That's the whole idea. So basically, the concept is just a physical whiteboard, right? It's a physical whiteboard converted. If you recollect, in for those of us in corporate, I'm sure we have used at one time or the other a whiteboard that we left in one of the conference rooms and used multiple post-it colors and kept updating moving the post-its from status to status, and used it as a way to track something very critical over a period of time. This is just a digital version of that. So nothing more complicated. You'll love using it, and please try it out. So the process we are following is each chapter will have its own card, and we will decide where it belongs to after we finish reading. Right. So I've already classified it based on what it is right now, but we'll move it around and spend some time discussing that chapter when we are done. Upon completion, the card will have a green label. Like, we finished forward, so I have the green label there. We finished introduction to seventh edition, so it has a green label. This has a green and a purple label because we keep going back to it, right? So that's what is the label. Each card for the chapter has multiple checklists that have to be updated so that everybody benefits, right? Again, this is structured attempt at trying to not just gain for ourselves, and but for gain and share for literally anybody. This is a public board, not just people in MBA, but literally anybody can access this, right? And we leave this board. So after, say, a month and a half or 2 months, when we are done with discourses, this whole thing is available for posterity, for anybody to do it at their own pace. So what will each chapter have? Each chapter will have the following sections. First, we'll update the reading date, and we'll update the video link, right? And that's my job. Second is, we'll have the essence of the chapter, right? Now, I've already included the subtitles in there, and that could be a pointer to what is trying to be conveyed in that chapter. We can add to it, we can debate it, and let's do it constructively, positively, so that we're able to. I like to see Baba in our meeting. There he is from Singapore. Hi, Baba. Okay, sorry for that. See, the third checklist is references. Quite often we say that, oh, this particular aspect is covered very well in discourses. This particular chapter reminds me of infinite intelligence, and so on and so forth. But then that's lost, right? And we did that in the last a year or so, multiple times, but it's not saved in a way where we can go back and look at it. So this is the place where we will put those references: page number, chapter, book name, if it's an online copy, whatever. Even if it's a non-Baba reference material, right? If we just think that it's highly relevant, we can put it there. Other thing is, we created slides. We created many things that helped us in our learning, but we didn't actually stick it to the chapter. So here we'll actually stick it and update it to the chapter and leave it there. So that's references. Then, if at all, and this will be D and E will be lesser used, I presume, but let us put it there. D is assignments. Any assignments or projects which is a task given, taken up by the group in connection with this chapter, right? So we'll put it there, and we'll so that it's recorded. Finally, there's a quiz, and this is where I need Ravi's help, and I think Ravi is already volunteered to help do this. So in the course of the week, if he can update the quiz for each chapter, it's a good way forward. And if he's having time, he can do it in advance of the reading as well. Because this was something he offered to do last time. This time, we're going to hold him to that. Okay. So finally, F is Sanjay from last week, right? Practical takeaways. So, given Sanjay, you were the one that volunteered to do that, and Nomita nominated you. So
Okay.
you take care of that part in every chapter. So if there is any practical to do, something that helps us bring it into daily life, in our material existence, in our real life, those guidelines or to dos we can put out there, right? So this is what it is. So this is what the process I'm suggesting. And so if you go and open a new chapter now, right? So the next chapter we are going to read is, so by the way, it's very, very user friendly. So anytime you want to find something, now I want to go to new humanity, right? So I can just search humanity and it shows me all the cards where humanity is. I can just open up the card and the card will have all the details, right? So if you look at the new humanity card right now, as I said, I have updated all these checklists, right? So,
So
and
these are
we will,
the subtitles.
essence of the chapter is subtitles, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have references, which we will do at the end of today, probably, because we're going to read this. And all of this we can do over the course of the week, right?
So by
So,
clicking on the subtitles, we can read it there, or it is just for
no,
reference.
no.
Yeah.
It's not
No.
that cool
Yeah. Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So it's not yet that advanced.
It's a
So it's
smart
just a
glossary
reference.
basically. Yeah.
Can we hyperlink these
Something like,
subtitles to
Yeah.
go to that
no,
chapter?
no, no.
Oh.
That's too much of work right now. And
Oh.
even that, it's not even subtitled. I mean, the chapter also is not even linked to the chapter right now. But I think we'll get to that. So just for process, I've also said what is the book and edition we are reading. So if even a stranger comes, he can come and look at what it is. I keep making highlights to a version, and I know all of you have access to it if you're in MBA. So just click on this link, and you'll get to whatever I save at the end of the day, right? That is this edition of the book, right? And this just tells you which edition we are reading. And this is nothing but, you've already seen this, the word cloud and the themes. And this is the classification of the themes. So anybody wants to get to the sections, you can download the Excel and see it. So this is what I just wanted to spend 10 minutes showing you this. And then let's get started with New Humanity, right? So again, in the reading, let us be focused on the reading and try to keep it as continuous as possible. So when you have a question or an insight, think again and surely consider saying that would it be covered in the later paras? Because quite often I have seen that we jump the gun on the question and then we get it answered down the line. So hold back your temptation to get to a question and get to a question or a summarization or an insight only when you think all of us will gain from it. I know we are all mature enough to make that distinction so that I think a holistic, the way I'd look at it is we'd rather spend 15-20 minutes discussing the chapter or even half an hour per chapter rather than interrupt in between because the flow is lost. It's just my views.
And I
With
think
that, I
Karthik
just hope
and interruptions, I suppose, would be lesser this time because we're reading for the second time.
second time. Yes,
Yeah.
totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
I think I'm not curbing the
Yeah, understood.
good insights, right?
So,
because quite
flow.
often stuff like
Flow.
what you bring up, what
Yeah.
Mamaji brings up are very
Yeah.
very good because it's a good summarization which will be helpful for everybody. So all I'm
Yeah.
saying is use your vivek to decide whether it is the time to interrupt or not. So just
Yes.
discriminate. That's all. Right? So I think
Excellent.
this is what
This
I
is
had.
excellent, Karthik. You have done a really organized the whole thing in excellent way. This will certainly help us to read the whole thing. Very organized.
I hope.
Beautifully,
Sure.
beautifully.
Beautiful
I
effort,
hope it helps.
Commend you for that.
Baba working
So
through
please,
you. Thank you, Jai Baba.
yeah, Jai Baba, Jai Baba. So let's.
Hey, Baba, very well done. I think Baba has given us this opportunity to all work together as tributaries, contribute, and understand his work better. Thank you very much for putting this together. I think
Thank
we
you,
will
Baba.
all benefit from this. Jai Baba.
Yes, Jai Baba. So I think we will benefit only when all of us use it actively, and all of us use it even when we are not in the meeting. Okay. So please keep a lot of mind space for this, and please don't get overawed by the fact that it is another product. Remember, don't forget, last year when we were on Teams, we were struggling to get on the meeting. Remember? And now it's like second nature. We know what to do. We know which link to use. We know what to do, and we are very comfortable on Teams. So, in the same way, I promise you, Trello is much more user friendly than Teams. Teams can be very very frustrating for newcomers. Trello is not like that. Okay. So with that, I think let's jump to the
I have a
reading. If
question, Karthik.
yeah, please.
How are we going to do with the quiz thing? So I make up
So
some
you just
questions.
and you're just going to update it in the section, right? So in the section here, once I add all
Add
your
an item
email
there.
IDs, anybody, yes,
Oh,
add
I
an
see.
item, and you can
Okay.
keep, so you can add multiple questions, and
Okay.
people just do it by themselves. So we are
Okay.
not expecting the card to be updated with your individual answers. So the answers and the assessment is personal. It's not for public. But
Okay.
the fact that the quiz exists is important.
Yeah.
I
Introspection.
hope I'm clear, right? So we are not submitting anything other than the assignments. The quiz is more for confirming that these are the learning outcomes that we want out of this. And if we have got those answers in our head or if we write it down ourselves individually, great. That's it.
So we define
Makes
the
sense, right,
learning
Ravi?
outcomes before the chapter begins, or we do it post
So
or during.
this read, it's going to be essence of the chapter. Maybe a subsequent read 6 months down the line, we'll be able to write the learning objectives.
Great.
Correct.
Understood.
So right now, I thought of it and I did not put it out there because I think we do not have either. I mean, maybe I am speaking for myself. I did not think that we could set learning objectives before read.
Beforehand. Yeah, understood. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to understand, did Ravi ji fully understand what is his task? I'm trying to struggle with that. I'm not sure. Ravi ji understood. Maybe he did, so I'm fine.
I'll re-summarize and then we can ask Ravi to
Yeah.
confirm. Ravi, all you will do is add, say, 5 questions to this section, either before, during, or after the reading of that particular chapter. And that is something each of us individually, not during the meeting, will just read and confirm that you're comfortable with it. And anytime we can go back and say, hey, I'm not able to get this quiz, or I'm not able to get this assessment correctly done. And the questions can be multiple choice, can be, whatever, right? So there are more questions that summarize the learning in this chapter.
Yeah, I think
Ravi?
I got it
Yeah.
quiz. I actually participated in Meher Baba University at one time. I got busy with my work and I could not continue.
Rathod.
By answering all the quiz questions, one will be thorough with the subject, with that chapter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So cool. Let's get started.
Yeah.
I'm excited to start on this new reading now, new way of reading. And may
Karthik,
Baba
people might
guide
have some
us.
questions. Why don't you ask if anybody has any questions to
Yes. Sorry.
understand?
Please.
Yeah. How do I access this actually on?
So
It will not be on
after
Teams,
this
right?
meeting,
It is separate. Yeah.
so yeah. So I'll tell you how it works. A good question. So this is a I've made it private, but I made it public. So literally anybody can see anything. So I'll just show you what I mean by that. Right.
No,
So let me
I mean,
open
I
up this
have to
card.
have an account on Trello, right?
You have to have an account, but even
Yeah,
without
yeah.
an account on Trello, now if I just go to this chat window now, you guys can just click on this message that I'm sending to everybody, and you'll see that
Okay.
this card opens up in a browser very easily.
Okay, let me see, because my office computer doesn't
Yeah.
allow Trello, so I have to, which I
Oh,
normally
really?
use. Yeah. So it's
Oh,
this
okay. You
third
can do
party
it on
app.
the
So,
computer.
and then I have to do it
No,
on
you
my
can use it on the mobile.
personal. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Where is my?
So is an icon that we click on it and it opens separate from the Teams, or is it in the part of the Teams?
So I've also integrated it in Teams, and I'll probably show you that in a minute. Did I? Yeah. So can somebody try to open up the message that I sent? Any one of you on a computer, preferably? Did you see what I'm sending?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
So it should open up the whole thing.
Yeah, we see that.
Yeah, right. So in the same way, I can actually share at any level. I can share the whole board, which is share board, and then I can share a link to the whole board. So it's a very user-friendly thing. So you'll get used to it very quickly, is what I feel. I'm confident of that. Okay. But if you install the app, it's all a lot more easier. And if and it's as user-friendly on and usable practically on the mobile as it is on the desktop. By the way, we use this heavily in our work. So all our work is tracked only through Trello, right? And Trello integrates with email, Trello integrates with billing, Trello integrates. So we actually have a paid version of Trello, but it does some fantastic work. And I'm so disappointed with myself. I didn't think of this earlier. Right. So anyway,
Okay.
but it take some doing. It took a lot of time to get this done, but I'm glad it's out of the way now. So any other question?
Ashok has informed that he is unable to attend. Tomorrow he will be on the call. He wants
Yeah.
Karthik to record this. I have informed him that it's already recorded.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Karthik, one last question. It's public, but who has rights to write in or edit or change the information?
I think team members can edit, but it's visible to all.
Yeah. So that I think
Like that.
once we make it
Anyone on
public,
the internet Anyone on the internet, including Google, can see the board. Only board members can edit. So, which is ideal because
Okay.
I want somebody. I'm going to post this even on the YouTube channel. So even if somebody wants to play with it, they don't need any help. They can just look at these lanes and then figure out and learn by themselves with the videos.
Just want to make sure that editing rights are restricted because we don't want people to mess up with all the hard work that we put in for.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Totally agree.
Karthik, can we hold it back for some time before publishing it very public?
That's
for
fine
maybe
too.
1 or 2 weeks before we get used to it in a user-friendly way.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's a good
That's
idea.
fine.
We don't need to rush to publish it immediately. Let's
Okay.
build it
Done.
up a bit.
Private.
Yeah.
Just 1 or 2 weeks, so that
Sure,
I'm
sure.
yet to
Fair enough.
get to the grips of what is this and all that. So let us
No
get
problem.
used to
I
it.
mean, that's totally optional. That's totally optional. So I just
Okay.
made it private right now. So that's fine. Any other thoughts? No, very good. Let's get.
Yeah.
Jai Baba Karthik. It seemed like Mayor Baba worked with you throughout. Trust me. I'm not a tech savvy
He's working
person. I
through
might
all
not
of
touch
us.
it, but I'm looking forward to it. Thank you
Please
so
use it.
much.
I want the most tech unfriendly person to use this and tell me, yeah, it's not too bad. You'll tell me that.
Okay, I'll do it. Okay.
Yeah. And then you'll start using it for everything. You'll manage your recipes on this. You'll manage your shopping list on this. Trust me. Okay.
Shopping list. Okay. You've got me.
Yeah. You can use it for anything. You can use it for any planning.
Hopefully not on
Anyway.
AMB portal.
Yeah, not on our group. Yes. Thank you. Okay, so with that out of the way, and with a lot of positive energy and positivity in our midst, let's get to the reading. So we start with New Humanity, Avatar Meher Baba. Subtitle is Divine Plan. Request all of your audios to go on mute, please. As in all great critical periods of human history, humanity is now going through the agonizing travail of spiritual rebirth. Great forces of destruction are afoot and seem to be dominant at the moment, but constructive and creative forces that will redeem humanity are also being released through several channels. Although the working of these forces of light is chiefly silent, they are eventually bound to bring about those transformations that will make the further spiritual advance of humanity safe and steady. It is all a part of the divine plan, which is to give to the hungry and weary world a fresh dispensation of the eternal and only truth. War, a symptom of graver causes. At present, the urgent problem facing humanity is to devise ways and means of eliminating competition, conflict, and rivalry in all the subtle and gross forms that they assume in the various spheres of life. Military wars are, of course, the most obvious sources of chaos and destruction. However, wars in themselves do not constitute the central problem for humanity, but are rather the external symptoms of something graver at their root. Wars and their suffering, wars and the suffering they bring cannot be completely avoided by mere propaganda against war. If they are to disappear from human history, it will be necessary to tackle their root cause. Even when military wars are not being waged, individuals or groups of individuals are constantly engaged in economic or some other subtle form of warfare. Military wars, with all the cruelty they involve, arise only when these underlying causes are aggravated. Egoism and selfishness. The cause of the chaos that precipitates itself in wars is that most persons are in the grip of egoism and selfish considerations, and they express their egoism and self-interest individually as well as collectively. This is the life of illusory values in which man is caught. To face the truth is to realize that life is one in and through its manifold manifestations. To have this understanding is to forget the limiting self in the realization of the unity of life. Wars, unnecessary and unreasonable. With the dawn of true understanding, the problem of wars would immediately disappear. Wars have to be so clearly seen as both unnecessary and unreasonable that the immediate problem would not be how to stop wars, but to wage them spiritually against the attitude of mind responsible for such a cruel and painful state of things. In the light of the truth of the unity of all life, cooperative and harmonious action becomes natural and inevitable. Hence, the chief task before those who are deeply concerned with the rebuilding of humanity is to do their utmost to dispel the spiritual ignorance that envelops humanity. Self must be eliminated in all spheres of life. Wars do not arise merely to secure material adjustment. They are often the product of uncritical identification with narrow interests, which, through association, come to be included in that part of the world regarded as mine. Material adjustment is only part of the wider problem of establishing spiritual adjustment. Spiritual adjustment requires the elimination of self, not only from the material aspects of life, but also from those spheres that affect the intellectual, emotional, and cultural life of man. Material adjustment requires spiritual understanding. To understand the problem of humanity as merely a problem of bread is to reduce humanity to the level of animality. But even when man sets himself the limited task of securing purely material adjustment, he can only succeed in this attempt if he has spiritual understanding. Economic adjustment is impossible unless people realize that there can be no planned and cooperative action in economic matters until self-interest gives way to self-giving love. Otherwise, with the best of equipment and efficiency in the material spheres, humanity cannot avoid conflict and insufficiency.
Karthik, can you stop here for a second?
Sure.
So what is this material adjustment Baba is talking about?
So I'll start with the word adjustment to begin with, right? So wars do not merely arise to secure material adjustment. So this is a very, very favorite word of Baba in this book and then beyond as well. And it's a very, very important thing, and it can't be compared to anything else. The more you reflect upon it, realize what he's trying to convey there. What he's trying to say is, if you peel the onion of what a war is conflict towards a goal of economic supremacy, governance supremacy, land, labor, capital, whatever, right? But that is that's a adjustment from one that I am taking over.
You're breaking up, Karthik. Can you speak into the mic, please?
Am I breaking up? I did nothing different.
It
So
looks like you're going away from the microphone.
Is it better now?
Yes, it's better now.
Yeah. So it's just whether adjustment is basically moving from one portion of the objective universe to another portion of the objective universe, one small self to another self, or one group of small selves to other group of small selves, is what I understand from material adjustment.
Yeah, my
Spiritual
understanding.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
go ahead.
I probably interrupted. My
go ahead.
understanding on a simpler way is that material adjustment means if you can, kind of distribute the wealth of the world amongst the people, then the problem will not resolve, because the ego and the lust and the greed would always remain, and people will try to fight over others' materials or others' assets or materials or whatever wealth they have. So that's what it says.
Or what I'm thinking is it whatever we have, getting contented with what we have, without any desires to acquire more materialistic things? Is that the adjustment?
I don't think so. That, in fact, in one of the chapters, he uses a word contentment or sufficiency that I was just listening to this morning. He uses the word contentment or sufficiency to describe what you just described. But here it's multiple selves. So I agree with what Sanjay said, which is basically moving towards greater equilibrium of economic parity is one objective. But then economic parity will not solve anything, because the selves will have their other lust, anger, greed problems, which will continue to bother it. So its material adjustment is basically wealth redistribution.
See, spiritual adjustment,
power.
what I'm thinking is, at one time we were not spiritual. Now we are understanding what is spiritual. We make ourselves some change in ourselves to adjust to the spiritual way of life. That's what I'm thinking, spiritual adjustment. But material adjustment is not in the similar lines. It is to distribute the wealth. Is that what you're saying? Whatever we have?
Yeah, it is one aspect of that is wealth, but then it is all aspects to do with ego, the aspects to do with lust, anger, and greed, and it is with groups of people who have no spiritual awareness, and they are acting without spiritual awareness.
Yeah, and the word bread is Baba is used. Bread means
Economic.
Economic actually. Yeah, Baba.
Can I have
Jai
a say
Baba.
here?
But yes, Mamaji, sorry, please.
Say in this paragraph, material adjustment, one sentence is there: self-interest gives way to self-giving love. So that is the crux of it. Even in the, say, in case of, I can give an example of a current aspect. India distributed some vaccine to different countries even without expecting payment. And we are in need of the vaccine. The whole population is in need of the vaccine. In spite of our self-interest, we have been able to give it to others. So this is a sort of a spirit of the material adjustment. Jai Baba.
I think that's very good example, Mamaji. That's excellent. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so can we go ahead?
Jai Baba, when you do such
Yeah,
a thing,
Sherry?
No, this is Nomita.
Yeah.
For example, Mamaji just said India is giving vaccine to countries who cannot pay and putting there. But does the intent matter if this is done to gain publicity or gain other rewards subsequently? Does it still mean like you're being selfless?
Yeah.
That is why I was quiet, because it's how we interpret that service which was done.
So
The
that's for
intention.
Baba to see, and hopefully, if it is given in the right intent, what Baba is meaning, then it is good. And if it is not, then we can't say anything about that. That's our guess. Yeah.
I am not here to judge on what our country has done. That's a sensitive point, right? If countries spend a lot of money and effort in soft power is exactly what we are doing, which is to show that we are something which we are not, or which we want to be. Right? We spend money in Africa. We spend money in.
We are positioning
right?
ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah. Soft power. Just research this word called soft power. You know what I'm talking about. And Everybody does this. Right?
You know, I was saying this not in so much in context of what India has done, but in the context of us as individuals.
Exactly.
Does
Yes.
Yeah.
it matter if I'm doing something for
Yes.
you for my personal glory, or that people will say, oh, she's so good, or I just do it, and I in my heart there's no hidden agenda. That's what
Hold your
Yeah.
horses, Nomita. Today I heard selflessness and selfishness. The chapter on selfishness and selfless service. 2 chapters. It's coming up. It's coming up literally in weeks. You'll get the answer exactly to the question that you have. Just hold your horses. Of
Jai
course,
Baba.
it matters.
Jai Baba.
The quick answer is, of course, it matters. What your intent and the role and the clarity of thinking before you do that action is important. Otherwise, you are only feeding your ego.
Yeah.
So
Only intent.
intent shapes the content of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Only intent matters.
Yes,
Content doesn't. Yeah. Jai Baba.
yes,
Jai Baba.
that's a
Jai
nice
Baba.
one. That's a nice one.
And
And
follows
in the
the
same
intent.
way, Jai Baba, in the same way, when we talk about economic giving, there are people who would give, wait until they have for themselves, and then decide to give. Baba says that do not wait until you have. Share what we have already. Then that intention matters. If we keep waiting, oh, acha, mere paas itna hoega, then I will do it. That's not good. I mean, I'm not judging good or bad. I mean to say that let's share what we have. Why to wait for, ki when I have that much, then I will.
Perfect.
Jai Baba.
In fact,
It's,
again, covered in detail in selfless service, charity and charitable service, including giving, is described very beautifully by Baba. So it's coming up.
yeah, normally people, they look after themselves, and then if they are kind enough, charitable enough, then they try to give. But if they have sincere love is spontaneous, and then if somebody asks, they just give. If they are really
Yeah.
into divine love.
Yeah.
Very, very good, Sherry. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. So let's continue. Rightful place of science. That's where we are continuing from. The new humanity that emerges from the travail of the present struggle and suffering will not ignore science or its practical attainments. It is a mistake to look upon science as anti-spiritual. Science is a help or hindrance to spirituality according to the use to which it is put. Just as true art expresses spirituality, science, when properly handled, can be the expression and fulfillment of the spirit. Scientific truths concerning the physical body and its life in the gross world can become mediums for the soul to know itself. But to serve this purpose, they must be properly fitted into larger spiritual understanding. This includes a steady perception of true and lasting values. In the absence of such spiritual understanding, scientific truths and attainments are liable to be used for mutual destruction and for a life that will tend to strengthen the chains that bind the spirit. All-sided progress of humanity can be assured only if science and religion proceed hand in hand. Need for spiritual experience. The coming civilization of the new humanity shall be ensouled not by dry intellectual doctrines, but by living spiritual experience. Spiritual experience has a hold on the deeper truths that are inaccessible to mere intellect. It cannot be born of unaided intellect. Spiritual truth can often be stated and expressed through the intellect, and the intellect surely is of some help for the communication of spiritual experience. But by itself, the intellect is insufficient to enable man to have spiritual experience or to communicate it to others. If two persons have had headaches, they can cooperatively examine their experience of headaches and make it explicit to themselves through the work of the intellect. If a person has never experienced a headache, no amount of intellectual explanation will suffice for making him understand what a headache is. Intellectual explanation can never be a substitute for spiritual experience it can at best prepare the ground for it. Spiritual experience involves more than can be grasped by mere intellect. This is often emphasized by calling it a mystical experience. Mysticism is often regarded as something anti intellectual, obscure, and confused, or impractical and unconnected with experience. In fact, true mysticism is none of these. There is nothing irrational in true mysticism when it is, as it should be, a vision of reality. The subtitle is Nature and Place of Spiritual Experience. It is a form of perception that is absolutely unclouded, and it is so practical that it can be lived every moment of life and expressed in everyday duties. Its connection with experience is so deep that in one sense it is the final understanding of all experience. That is mystical experience. Continuing, when spiritual experience is described as mystical, one should not assume that it is something supernatural or entirely beyond the grasp of human consciousness. All that is meant is that it is not accessible to the limited human intellect until the intellect transcends its limits and is illumined by direct realization of the infinite. Jesus Christ pointed out the way to spiritual experience when he said, "Leave all and follow me." This means that man must leave limitations and establish himself in the infinite life of God. A real spiritual experience involves not only realization of the nature of the soul while traversing the higher planes of consciousness, but also a right attitude toward worldly duties. If it loses its connection with the different phases of life, what we have is a neurotic reaction that is far from being a spiritual experience. Spiritual experience not found in escape. The spiritual experience that is to enliven and energize the new humanity cannot be a reaction to the stern and uncompromising demands made by the realities of life. Those without the capacity for adjustment to the flow of life have a tendency to recoil from the realities of life and to seek shelter and protection in a self-created fortress of illusions. Such a reaction is an attempt to perpetuate one's separate existence by protecting it from the demands made by life. It can only give a pseudo solution to the problems of life by providing a false sense of security and self-completeness. It is not even an advance towards the real and lasting solution. On the contrary, it is a sidetrack from the true spiritual path. Man will be dislodged again and again from his illusory shelters by fresh and irresistible waves of life, and will invite upon himself fresh forms of suffering by seeking to protect his separative existence through escape. New humanity will not be attached to external forms.
I have a question.
Just as a sure.
Can you go back to page 5, Karthik?
Yeah.
Science and spirituality.
Yeah.
Right. In the middle of the chapter, it says, I'd like to reread this. The new humanity that emerges from travails of present struggle, suffering will not ignore science or its practical attainments. It's a mistake to look upon science as anti-spiritual. Science is a help or hindrance to spirituality according to the use to which it is put, just as true art expresses spirituality. Science, when properly handled, can be expression and fulfillment of spirit. Scientific truths concerning the physical body and its life, the gross world, can become mediums for soul to know itself. But to serve this purpose, it must be properly fitted into larger spiritual understanding. Any explanation on this science and spirituality connection? Any reflections from other members? And in the end, it says all silent progress of humanity can be assured. This para, only if science and religion proceed hand in hand. So, what are we trying to take away from here? How science can proceed hand in hand?
May I come in to give my idea? See, right now, this is the practical example. At one time, we never used Zoom or anything, any electronic media, and we were at most reading books, right?
Yeah.
So now we are using this Zoom, I mean, this Teams and whatever the new software he used. We are using all these tools, and we are able to watch Aarti morning and evening that is happening in Mehrabad. It's all electronic revolution because of that. And WhatsApp and email, so much awakening is happening through this electronic media. So it can be used for divine purposes, and it can be used for developing warfare. That's what I understand.
Perfect
Yeah, Baba.
example. Any more examples? Anybody else? Sorry.
The point
Internet
here,
itself is a very big example. Yeah.
Right.
Internet itself, surfing itself is a very big example. You can look for what you're looking for,
First internet was developed when Mehra passed away in 1987, right?
Yeah.
87.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
So,
question came to my mind, maybe it's for Raviji to answer. Scientific truths concerning the physical body. When I read the word physical body, it's like my physical body, and its life in the gross world can become mediums for the soul to know itself. But to serve the purpose, they must be properly fitted into larger spiritual understanding. So, just I'm trying to think about the science of physical body senses, perhaps, and how we are fitting it into larger spiritual understanding. How we are using the vehicle. Okay,
So
I think meditation
there
comes
are
to my
mis-
mind. Yeah.
yeah, meditation is a good example. The research around the functioning of the brain, the research around the relationship of the glands in the head. These are things that science has progressed along. But then that progress should somehow contribute to the larger spiritual objective and should not be an end in itself.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
yes,
That's what I.
one point here is if you take the history of all the religions and also the development of science versus the belief or strictures against science in religious world. This is a very reassuring point Baba has brought out, that science has its own place and we have to gel science with spirituality and need not keep away science from our daily activity or link it with spirituality. That is a real eye opener for me, because when we read other, say, religious literature, science is sort of kept away. Uh, that is a takeaway for me here. Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Very good
Yeah.
point.
Jai
Yep.
Baba.
Very good point. Very good point.
Yeah.
So there are some isms which give very little credibility to science. In fact, give negative connotation to scientific progress, and believe in renunciation without the use of scientific tools,
Yeah.
keeping away certain scientific progress, not using medicine to heal themselves. These are all certain isms that
Yeah.
I'm sure we have come across. And
Yeah.
that is what is trying to be beaten up here. Very good insight, Mama. That's a good point. That's what Baba is saying here. Right? So science is not. Science has its place, and the rightful place has to be understood by us.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba, I have something to say. While science has been instrumental in all of us understanding Baba's work, coming close to each other, learning from each other. So it can be a vehicle. But at the same time, to advance in spiritual growth, you have to internalize what is being spoken. So the onus is, it's just a medium, the onus is still on you. What do you keep with yourself? How do you change yourself? So science can be a medium, but spirituality, if it has to advance, it is on every individual to take the learning and internalize and implement in his life to move forward. Jai Baba.
Yeah, well, I think I got my answer.
Jai
Thank you,
Baba.
Karthik.
Jai
The
Baba. I
wife
think
always has the last word. Sunil.
Yes.
Somebody is
Yes.
saying
No,
Jai
Okay,
Baba.
Vipul,
Jai
Vipul.
Baba.
can we
Yeah,
have
Vipul, go ahead.
can we have the quantum mechanics man say something about this?
I think before that, Vipul is saying something.
Vipul, yeah.
Yeah, I have never come across such a progressive thought in any spiritual reading where it is written that science can become a medium, you know, to the soul. Uh, it's an amazing and a very different perspective given. I mean, I'm quite amazed at the progressive thought of Baba way back, maybe 50 years ago. I don't know, but amazing, Jai Baba.
Super.
This was written in 1935. So,
Oh,
yeah. So 20 plus
So
65, 85 years ago, this was written. Nothing, no science was there at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
let,
thinking about that as well.
quantum
Where
mechanics.
is karma? Where is karma nowadays? Karma is not opening up. Karma needs to be
Yeah, Jai
Bottu.
Baba, I'm listening. I'm being a POW, my with POW.
Your
Karma, you're breaking
audio
up.
is yeah.
The word science is.
Your audio is really
Can you
bad.
hear me, guys? Hello.
Yeah,
Off and on.
now we can hear you.
Okay, let me try again. I'm in Dehradun, Meherdam, so network is different. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Jai Baba,
Yeah.
Dehradun, Mehrdam, we
Can you
heard.
hear me, guys?
Jai Baba.
That much we heard.
Okay, Meherdam.
Yeah, try
In
repeating
Dehradun right
Baba.
now, and
What are you doing in Dehradun?
okay, let me finish my thoughts, and then I'll tell you. Work hard, play the motto of life. So, what I want to say is my observation of this chapter and about the word science. I think typically we have been conditioned to think of science only in terms of matter, what I call as laws of matter, classical mechanics, quantum mechanics, physics, chemistry, biology. So the Western civilization has conditioned the Eastern mind as something experimental to be proven, through the laws of matter. But we know from India that spirit is how we started in India. And that is why the meeting of the East and West is happening, where basically, the East had already for the last 5,000 years used spirituality, or what I call as spiritual. So spirituality is scientific. I think that is the truth that we all need to be aware. Just like the laws of matter are scientifically proven, the laws of spirit are scientifically proven by our sages, the rishis and the maharishis and the sadgurus that we have seen in the last. Yeah, the Vedanta Upanishads are scientific, actually. So I think that what is important out here is again like the head and heart. Head is important. The thinking mind ego is a tool, is an appendage. It's a scaffolding that needs to take care of both the material life and spiritual life. So I think practicality is important, that you have to take care of this, because this body carries consciousness. Consciousness can't live without the body. Consciousness. So in that sense, both matter and spirit have to be equally. I think this is we time that Baba has come and shown us the correlationship between materials. Unfortunately, if materials science, real science, so there's a confusion again because of the ambiguity. So that is why I have to use the laws of or laws of the material world. So spirituality and materialism go hand in hand. What we are trying to do is how to live a material life spiritually. Hold on. So I think the challenge here is it's not just laws of matter. It is not just laws of spirit. We need set mind, head, and heart have to balance. Heart always has precedence. So spirituality always has precedence over the materialism. So the material body is just a tool, it's a scaffolding, but the real thing is the spirit. So I think that is where this word spirituality and how both are scientific. That's how I look at it. Jai Baba.
Okay, your audio was bad, but I think we got the general drift of what you're saying. And that's an interesting take. That is basically saying that spirituality is also scientific, but then given the context of what we are reading, that may end up confusing the reader, right? So, but I see your point. There is the fundamentals of science which are also met with spirituality, right? So there is a verifiability, there is proof, there is documentation, and all of that in spirituality. That's your claim. But yeah, from the purposes of this chapter, any other questions and responses to Kama, and then we'll probe him on what he's doing in the hills.
Kama, what do you think about material adjustment?
Material adjustment. I think, look, you can interpret material as that there is material adjustment and spiritual adjustment. I think if you look at life for adjustment with the environment, which is very effortless, spontaneous, not worry about anything. The material world, it's a zero. We are material
bad to worse.
Material world. Sorry, hello.
We are hearing only material.
I think you're not very clear. That's okay, Kama. We can talk about it in the future when you have a good network.
When you've understood with your network better.
Sorry about that.
No problem. No problem.
All right. Sorry.
Okay. So yeah, we covered this as well. So spiritual experience not found in escape. So I'll continue from here. Just as a person may seek to hold on to his separative experience through escape, he may also seek to hold on to it through uncritical identification with forms, ceremonies, and rituals, or with traditions and conventions. Forms, ceremonies, and rituals, traditions, and conventions are in most cases fetters to the release of infinite life. If they were pliant mediums for the expression of unlimited life, they would be an asset rather than a handicap for securing the fulfillment of divine life on earth. But they mostly have a tendency to gather prestige and claims in their own right, independently of the life they may express. When this happens, any attachment to them must eventually lead to a drastic curtailment and restriction of life. This subsection is new humanity will not be attached to external forms. The new humanity will be freed from a life of limitations, allowing unhampered scope for the creative life of the spirit. And it will break the attachment to external forms and learn to subordinate them to the claims of the spirit. The limited life of illusions and false values will then be replaced by unlimited life in the truth. And the limitations through which the separative self lives will wither away at the touch of true understanding. Identification with narrow group is a form of limited self. Just as a person may seek to hold on to his separative existence through escape or identification with external forms, he may seek to hold on to it through identification with some narrow class, creed, sect, or religion, or with the divisions based upon sex. Here, the individual may seem to have lost his separative existence through identification with a larger whole. But in fact, he is often expressing his separative existence through such an identification, which enables him to delight in his feeling of being separate from others who belong to another class, nationality, creed, sect, religion, or sex. Limited self lives through opposites. Separative existence derives its being and strength from identifying itself with one of the opposites and contrasting itself with the others. An individual may seek to protect his separate existence through identification with one ideology rather than another, or with his conception of good as contrasted with his idea of evil. What results from identification with narrow groups or limited ideals is not a real merging of the separative self, but only a semblance of it. A real merging of the limited self in the ocean of universal life involves complete surrender of separative existence in all its forms. Hope for the future. The large mass of humanity is caught up in the clutches of separative and assertive tendencies. For one who is overpowered by the spectacle of these fetters of humanity, there is bound to be nothing but unrelieved despair about its future. One must look deeper into the realities of the day if one is to get a correct perspective on the present distress of humanity. The real possibilities of the new humanity are hidden to those who look only at the surface of the world situation, but they exist and only need the spark of spiritual understanding to come into full play and effect. The forces of lust, hate, and greed produce incalculable suffering and chaos. However, the one redeeming feature about human nature is that even in the midst of disruptive forces, there invariably exists some form of love. Love must be free from limitations. Even wars require cooperative functioning, but the scope of this cooperative functioning is artificially restricted by identification with a limited group or ideal. Wars often are carried on by a form of love, though it is a love that has not been understood properly. In order that love should come into its own, it must be untrammeled and unlimited. Love does exist in all phases of human life, but it is latent or is limited and is poisoned by personal ambition, racial pride, narrow loyalties and rivalries, and attachment to sex, nationality, sect, caste, or religion. If there is to be a resurrection of humanity, the heart of man will have to be unlocked so that a new love is born into it. A love that knows no corruption and is entirely free from individual or collective greed. Love, essentially self-communicative. The new humanity will come into existence through a release of love in measureless abundance. And this release of love can come through spiritual awakening brought about by the perfect masters. Love cannot be born of mere determination. Through the exercise of will, one can at best be dutiful. Through struggle and effort, one may succeed in assuring that one's external action is in conformity with one's concept of what is right. But such action is spiritually barren because it lacks the inward beauty of spontaneous love. Love has to spring spontaneously from within. It is in no way amenable to any form of inner or outer force. Love and coercion can never go together. But while love can be forced upon anyone, it can be awakened through love itself. Love is essentially self communicative. Those who do not have it catch it from those who have it. Those who receive love from others cannot be its recipients without giving a response that in itself is the nature of love. I'll read that line again. Those who receive love from others cannot be its recipients without giving a response that in itself is the nature of love. True love is unconquerable and irresistible. It goes on gathering power and spreading itself until eventually it transforms everyone it touches. Humanity will attain a new mode of being and life through the free and unhampered interplay of pure love from heart to heart. Redemption of humanity through divine love. When it is recognized that there are no claims greater than the claims of the universal divine life, which without exception includes everyone and everything, love will not only establish peace, harmony, and happiness in social, national, and international spheres, but it will shine in its own purity and beauty. Divine love is unassailable to the onslaughts of duality and is an expression of divinity itself. It is through divine love that the new humanity will tune in to the divine plan. Divine love will not only introduce imperishable sweetness and infinite bliss into personal life, but it will also make possible an era of new humanity. Through divine love, the new humanity will learn the art of cooperative and harmonious life. It will free itself from the tyranny of dead forms and release the creative life of spiritual wisdom. It will shed all illusions and get established in the truth. It will enjoy peace and abiding happiness. It will be initiated in the life of eternity. And that is the end of this chapter. So, any questions, points of discussion? So, as I was saying, now we'll go through every para and open it up for discussions.
Jai Baba, Kartik Khaledia.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just thinking, about the title of this chapter, The New Humanity. What or whom is Baba addressing this as? Why the chapter named as New Humanity? Is it for the human race coming after Baba, or is it for the people who are still there? Because before Baba in Meher Baba form, it was Christ, it was Buddha, it was Muhammad. So the advent of the avatar has always been there. And in every advent, is tried to uplift the human race. But why Baba in Meher Baba form is addressing the human race as the new humanity? So I'm a little, intrigued at this, why this chapter named as the new humanity. Anybody can help me?
Yes, every avatar, if you think, they saw the stalemate condition of the uh, whole population or the society, and with their say inputs or awakening process that they start off, they are hopeful or really they think that the next community which takes up all the messages from these recent avatar, will create a better condition for life in the world. So that's why it is a hope that new humanity will be like this. So on what basis we all will feel it is because of Baba's words, Baba's literature, Baba's insistence on selflessness and love. So that is the probability he is projecting for future from his advent.
Yeah. Yeah, Mamaji, I think that's the whole purpose of his coming.
Yes, yes.
Even from the Lord Krishna's time, he has said that message only. And Baba has also given the same message. And in the new life period also, he has said that this new life is eternal and be continued to be lived by uh, the people who follow the right path.
So do we take away that, when there is a stalemate or not,
Yeah.
in the progress of human, that's when the avatar
Yes.
advents,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's when he advents
Yeah.
is what,
He
creates,
comes. Yeah. He comes for.
untangles the
Right.
stalemate condition.
Yeah. And
So
like
the
Krishna,
humanity to
Baba has
follow
also said
thereafter.
that. Yeah.
So the
He
humanity
When
to
the
follow
wick of
thereafter is what.
spiritual
righteousness,
push. He
Yeah.
has used the word spiritual push. Yeah.
Interestingly, I heard from a Baba lover that one of the famous astrologers in India, I believe, said when he was reading, people who are born after 1969, they have some special line engraved in their hand, it seems. And all the people he observed after being born after 1969. I thought that is an interesting
I
thing.
missed. I missed that.
Mhm.
What's that special line for, Vijay?
No
Didn't
idea.
understand.
I was listening to a Baba Lover speech, and he was saying that he heard from a famous astrologer. There is a special line. What it indicates, I don't remember what he said.
Line of awakening, probably.
Probably.
So people before 69 are awakened, or after 69 are going to be awakened?
I know why you're asking, Sunil. I'm on the other side. Okay, I have the line.
Oh, you have the line. I see.
I missed it.
I missed it too.
Karthik, are you born 19 after 69?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you're a kid. New humanity, new humans.
I have the line. Whatever it is.
That line means you marked.
Yeah, I'm the new humanity. Marked out. Yeah.
Am I the oldest here? Am I the oldest here in the group? Oh, Mamaji is there.
Yes.
Mamaji is on this.
So I just will share this link, but then this is what was the message that both Mama and Sanjay were saying, right?
Jai Baba, what's the
I'll just
line?
read one line. Age after age, when the wick of righteousness burns low, the avatar comes yet once again to rekindle the torch of love and truth. Age after age, amidst the clamor of disruptions, wars, fears, and chaos, rings the avatar's call. You can read this message later, Khalid. I'll post this. Nomita, the line
Thanks.
is a speculative line that is supposed to exist on all palms born after 1969, as claimed by an astrologer, which which in the Baba world is linked to something that Baba has done to new humanity. So I said I have it.
Show me.
Yeah, and
Show.
No,
he doesn't know it.
He doesn't know he has it, but he has it.
Yeah.
I have it also in my heart.
Oh, that's good.
See, during
Yes.
each Advent, if you see, there have been the wars. Even in Baba's time, there were two world
yes.
wars and the famines of 1920 and many other such things. Also, in, a lot of scientific research
Progress.
on new progress was made. And during the time of Krishna, there was war. There was war at the time of Muhammad. There were wars at the time of Rama. I don't know. I'm not sure too much about Christ. So there has been upheaval in the whole human race during the advent of Avatar. So that's one indication that is we are talking of the spiritual push, you know, through the pain. Yeah, Jai Baba.
See, when the
Can
people,
I?
as they get older, they get stuck with their the habits, right? But the avatar gives a push, and people cannot change. The only way to change the people is to reincarnate and start the life from fresh. You can easily develop some habits right from the childhood rather than halfway through. That's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
Jai
Yeah, yeah.
Baba, I
New
have
clothes.
Jai
New
Baba.
clothes, yeah.
In all of us in Baba's journey, I have a question. In this journey, since Baba called you, what has changed in you?
I didn't get
That's a
the.
long answer.
We,
And
we, we would not know. We would not know. There is a story of Narada told by Irach that Narada was complaining, what has changed me actually. Having lived with you for so many years, I am the same person. I have not even got married. So, so, Krishna, if I can tell you in a couple of minutes, short, is that Krishna asked him to go to a place and asked him to be there, and then he sees there is a bird there, and he looks at the bird, and just after Narada looks at him, the bird drops dead, and then Narada is very sad. And then Krishna asked him to do something else, and there is also another thing, and that also another evolution form, and that form also drops dead. And there is an invitation to Krishna by a neighboring king that come and bless my son. And Krishna tells Narada, you go. And Narada is scared actually that if I go and he drops dead, then what will happen, So, but ultimately Krishna pushes him to go there. And after the Narada looks at the child gets the God incarnation, God realization. So ultimately, Narada realizes what he has gained by living through the Master or the God Himself. So that realization we cannot get it actually is hidden from us actually because that will probably boost our ego.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah,
Jai
that's what
Baba.
I think. Yeah.
We are all moving
Amitaji, I
unwell.
was very, very bad. After coming into Baba, I'm getting little better.
Oh, bad is the beginning of better, as Baba says.
Yes.
okay, so before we wrap up, I think we have to probably do a detailed review of the chapter when we get together in the morning. I will post the audio file of this chapter. And guys, I'm sure you have 15 minutes in your day. Listen to this again, okay? The audio file so that it kind of re-emphasizes the chapter, and then when we get together tomorrow, we will finish the checklist. And if you're already ready, Ravi, you can try to update the quiz, and likewise Sanjay on the practical takeaways. For simplicity, I remember now why I kept it public. The reason I kept it public was till you guys set up your IDs, you can at least see it and interact with it. So that's why I kept it public. So I'll restore it back to public, but I will send all your email addresses an invitation so that you can play with this. Be responsible. Don't you can very easily move stuff, but don't do it, right? And edit where very appropriate only, and at least get comfortable with it, and create your own boards and have some fun, because it's really a very easy tool, and it's a manifestation of science, and we have to use science in the right way, as we learned this morning, right? With that, let's wrap up for today, and enjoy your Saturday, and look forward to seeing all of you on Sunday. Avtar
Jai
Meher
Baba.
Baba ki jai.
Jai Baba.
Time.
Yeah.
Jai
Jai
Baba.
Baba. Jai
Jai
Baba,
Baba.
everyone. Jai Baba.
Jai
Jai
Baba.
Jai
Baba.
Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Karthik, can we stay here or
Yeah.
join?
I'm going to call you one-on-one.
Oh, okay. All right.